Let's just jump right in with a pretty uncomfortable truth. You have way less time than you think. And really getting your head around that is the absolute first step to not wasting it.
So let's just do the math on an average life. Say you're lucky and you get to live to a healthy 80. Well, this chart here really puts things in perspective. Right off the bat, 27 of those years are just gone, gobbled up by sleeping. That leaves you with 53. Then you've got about 11 years for work, 3 for school, and a pretty staggering 16 years spent on all the other stuff. Chores, errands, commuting, cooking, the daily grind.
So, you take out all of life's necessities, all the things you have to do. What are you actually left with? This. About 15 years. That's it. That is the sum total of your adult life that's truly yours to use however you want.
I mean, when you see that number, just 15 years, it's a real shock to the system, isn't it? It just forces you to face the fact that your most valuable asset isn't your money or your house, it's your time. And that brings us to a really key idea. You have to understand your life in these numbers, because it begs the all-important question, are you spending this incredibly precious time wisely?
Here's the problem. Most of us, we fall into what you could call the great time miscalculation. It's like we're hardwired to optimize for everything else, money, convenience, status, but in the process, we make these trade-offs that just squander our most finite resource.
Let's look at a classic, real-world example of how we make this mistake. So imagine you get a new job offer. It pays 15% more, which sounds great. But there's a catch. It adds an extra hour to your commute every single day. On the surface, that seems like a win, right? But does it really make you richer?
And here's where we see the real, hidden cost. Studies show a 15% raise doesn't actually make a huge difference in your day-to-day happiness. But that extra hour stuck in traffic or on a train, that adds up to over 250 hours a year. We're talking 10 full 24-hour days of your life, gone, every single year. So that little bump in pay comes at this enormous, invisible cost to your life.
And you see this kind of flawed logic pop up all over the place. You buy the bigger house, but now your weekends are spent on maintenance. Or you stick it out in a miserable relationship for years, and then complain about wasting a few months dating someone new. In every single one of these cases, we're trading our limited time for things that don't really add any genuine value to our lives.
This is exactly why someone like Warren Buffett, a guy who could literally buy anything, would probably give up every penny he has just to be 20 years old again. He gets this fundamental truth. The only real scarcity in life is time. The scarcity of everything else is merely a function of the scarcity of time. Time is the one asset you can never ever buy back. Everything else, money, skills, even your health, it all depends on how you use your time.
Okay, so if our time is so incredibly precious and limited, how in the world do we decide what's actually worth spending it on? Well, the answer comes from a really surprising place. A philosopher who came up with his most profound ideas while he was on his deathbed.
This is Ernest Becker. Back in the 1950s, he was this brilliant, kind of rebellious professor. Super prolific guy. But then, he got a terminal cancer diagnosis. And it was right then, as he was facing his own mortality, that he wrote his most famous book, The Denial of Death, which holds this really powerful insight for how to live a meaningful life.
So Becker's big idea is basically this. A life well lived is a life spent on things that create value even after we're gone. Your time feels valuable when it's spent on things that can actually outlast you. Think about it. A beautifully crafted piece of furniture could be enjoyed for generations. The latest smartphone? It's basically obsolete in a year.
He gave these pursuits a name, our immortality projects. These are our attempts to prolong what's sometimes called our second death. That's the moment the very last person forgets we ever existed. It could be raising a loving family, mentoring someone, building something for your community, or creating a body of work. It's all about leaving something behind, an echo of yourself after you're gone.
So this whole immortality project idea gives us a really powerful lens to look at our daily choices. And it leads us to a super practical framework for how to act, splitting our activities into 2 buckets, compounding and anti-compounding. This is a game-changing way to decide how to spend those precious 15 years.
Okay, so compounding experiences are like a philosophical retirement account. You invest in them, and they grow over time, making your future experiences even richer. On the flip side, you've got anti-compounding experiences. They offer diminishing returns. They're like a sugar high. The more you do them, the less satisfaction you get, and sometimes they just leave you feeling worse.
So what do these compounding investments look like? Well, investing in your health, that makes every other moment of your life better.
Nurturing deep, real relationships brings you more joy over a lifetime. Building a skill or pouring yourself into a cause you believe in, these are the things that pay dividends across your entire life.
And then you have the anti-compounding traps. Things like chasing status, buying a fancy watch to impress people who stop caring about it 2 seconds later. Or indulging in empty distractions, like binging video games for 14 hours straight until that wave of self-loathing kicks in. They give you a short-term hit, but in the long run, they just drain the value from your time.
The author of our source material actually lived this. When he was a young digital nomad, he just chased one peak experience after another, all across 50-plus countries. But what he found was that each new party, each new country, it felt a little less exciting. The novelty just wore off. It's the classic dead end of anti-compounding pursuits. As neuroscientist Andrew Huberman puts it, addiction is just a narrowing of what brings you joy.
So look, this isn't just about being more productive or finding some cool life hacks. This whole framework of compounding versus anti-compounding, it points to something way deeper. It's actually a moral issue, and the stakes of wasting your life are a lot higher than you might think.
Just think about it for a second. You have been given this unbelievable, impossibly rare gift: consciousness. The ability to reason, to create, to love, to build things that can actually outlast your physical body. As far as we know, that is the most unique and special phenomenon in the entire universe.
And this incredible gift of consciousness is only yours for a very short time. As Picasso famously said, the purpose of life is to find your gift. The meaning of life is to give it away. It's about using your time to contribute to something that compounds, something that outlasts you.
So the real point of all this, of facing your own mortality, isn't to be depressing. It's meant to be clarifying. It's supposed to light a fire under you, to give you urgency and focus. It really just leaves you with one final, vital question. You have about 15 years of free, conscious time left. How will you use them?